Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ben Oberg Show here on KIDO Talk Radio every Saturday, 7 a.m. local time. So today with me, I've got Mike C-Roc here. He is the founder of the What Are You Made Of podcast. He's also a mortgage lender. And in this whole crisis, everything going on right now, he took his company from $4 million per month to $32 million per month. And I know he's going to spit some massive value for all of you guys, regardless of what industry you're in, what walk of life, what you're looking to do. So Mike, thank you so much for being on here. Tell everybody who you are, what you do. Give us kind of the backdrop of your story and how you came to do what you do.
Yeah, Ben, thanks for having me, man. I'm so glad to be here, dude. It was great chatting with you before the show as well. And man, basically, dude, my story started when I was 11 years old. I'm going to go back real quick and tell you something that drives me.
Absolutely.
I came from a broken home. I didn't know my parents together ever. And I was living with my dad for 3 years. And I went through some mental and not physical, but mental and psychological abuse. And I decided to get out of there. I told my mom to file court papers to get me out. And when my dad got those court papers, I came home from school one day and he told me to get to my room. And man, I was scared to death. I walked on eggshells in that house. I sat on my bed. And my hero, my dad, had his own masonry business. He always had a wad of $100 bills in his pocket. And he said, "Are you sure you want to live with your mom? You know, they don't have it that well there." And I said, "Yeah, you know, I do." My mom told me, stick to my guns because they're going to try to talk you out of it. And so when that happened, he took this wad of $100 bills out and he peeled one off. And he said, "Well, if that's the case," he crumpled it up and he threw the $100 bill at me and said, "You're going to need this when you're living on the streets with your mother one day." And so that's just a little bit of a tidbit of what happened and growing up, like some of the stuff that I went through. But I always talk about what are you made of, because I say that to myself. I say that to myself when I'm going through tough times or hurdles, or even if things are going great and I want to take it up a notch. What are you made of, man? What are you made of, Mike? Let's go. So when I was 11, that was instilled in me. And I've always referred back to that. And I feed off of that for 30 some years now. I've fed off that. And so now also when that happened, my dad gave up on me, I felt. And you know what? I was like, dude, I'm not going to let him be right. I'm not going to need that money. And so when that happened, I also wanted to help other people that have been given up on. So I started a movement to go after that and be able to get exposure so that people would be able to know who I am and what I do so that I could help them. And so that's the one thing I'm doing. And in the mortgage business is something I've been in since 2006 and really lit fire in the last year or so with some of the things that we've been implementing.
So you took this lesson really that, you know, was instilled in you when you were 11, and you've used it to really do what you do now. It's helped you. It's left a huge impact on you to be able to carry yourself through life and probably have some of the success that you've had.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I'm a big believer in everything we go through as a training session for our future. Yep. Mm-hmm. So what are you made of movement has a rule. We call it WAMO, right? WAMO is short for what are you made of? WAMO rule number one is to turn all setbacks into rocket fuel. And so that's what we ride off of, and we preach it throughout our team. And we understand that, look, the mortgage industry isn't easy. Any business isn't easy. You're going to have people to deal with that are not the easiest. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have letdowns. How are you handling it? And also understanding, like, can you use that in some way? Like, get something out of it. Don't just like have a setback and then sit there and wallow in it and be a victim. Figure out what you can pull out of it to use to carry you forward.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. So 2006, then that makes me think of another point. You're 2 years in and the real estate market crashes. So how was it for you being in business, doing your own thing? How was it for you having that happen and having to go through that? Because we're going through some stuff now again. So this is kind of the second go around that you've seen in this industry with a little bit of turmoil, a little bit of chaos. So what was it like the first time? How did you combat that being in business? And is it similar to what's going on now?
I got in, just crushed it immediately in 2006. And then 2007, 2008, all of a sudden, like, what the heck is going on here? So we just kind of, luckily I didn't start spending a whole lot of money, even though I was making more. I kept my lifestyle similar so that it wasn't the end of the world necessarily. And I was able to ride through. Mm-hmm. And so then what I did was, and thank God I look back at this, I was very smart. not to my own horn or anything, but it's important to understand this. I journaled. I wrote down what was going on and how I was responding to it, and then how the government was responding to it and how people were responding to it. And I started paying attention, and I noticed the patterns that were taking place.
Mm-hmm.
So that when the next thing happened, which I didn't know it was going to be COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when it happened, I would be prepared. And so when I went into this, the confidence level was there that I didn't panic through this.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like confident that we're going to be able to get through it. And then we ended up crushing it and setting 2 records during this thing. Not bragging, because I know there's a lot of people having problems, out of work, sick,
Mm-hmm.
people lost their loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for them. My heart goes out to them. But says a lot about being prepared.
Absolutely. And one of the things I just got back from a trip back to Washington over the weekend. And one of the things that I was talking with my buddies is, look, he's got an online business, or he works for himself. And he's like, all of these businesses out there that are being confined or restricted by the state government or by authorities or whatever's going on, if you weren't prepared before this, you're filing for bankruptcy right now. You're laying off employees. You're going out of business. You can't put food on the table. And what I see is kind of 2 sides of the coin here. You have people that really did freak out and stocked up on toilet paper and whatever else they bought. And I don't know why. I don't know if they planned on going to the bathroom more in the last, several months. But then you had other people that are like, look, this isn't going to be a big deal. I can adapt and overcome. And I've already been through, or at least had the intelligence to, choose to conduct my life or my business in a way where this is just a little bump in the road or a little wave, and the boat's still going to sail over it. So, what do you see that people can do, regardless of if they're a business owner or if they're an employee? Like, if you're sitting here facing a little bit of struggle, or you're uncertain what the next 3, 6 months, a year, 2 years is going to look like, what would be your advice to, you went from 4 to 32 million. You obviously did something there to make that happen. What would your advice be for anybody, regardless of what situation they're in, on how to just improve that, especially financially?
First of all, the market will always punish the unprepared,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no way around it. At some point, it's going to get you.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is that, first of all, you have to have a foundation in anything that you do. If you're building a house, if you don't have a foundation, that house might go up, but what's going to happen is eventually a storm's going to come through and blow it down.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it all starts with foundation, which is culture, accountability, and understanding, like, every single day, no matter what you do, you have to be prepared. You have to train. You have to have your goals written down every single day to prepare yourself to understand why you're going through what you go through every single day. You have to resell yourself on your mission every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that, making sure that you're up the activity levels that are, really high every single day.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that Grant Cardone talks about all the time is massive action, right? But the problem is that, there's the 4 levels of action, right? Well, I think that we're all in average levels of action. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever gets to massive action, because if you get to massive action and you say and admit that you're in massive action, matter of fact, I wanted to bring that up today in the interview today when I was talking to Grant, but I didn't have the time. But if you ever think that you're doing massive action and you admit to that, to me, that's a form of complacency. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to strive. I think massive actions is something you strive for, and you're always constantly striving for it, but don't ever admit that you got there.
Mm-hmm. I get that. That makes 100% sense. And I think that too many people, one of the things I'm always talking about is, like, we are scaling our lives as a society in general. If we want to use that term, we're scaling our lives off of what we learn in school, what our parents taught us, and all the information that, I don't know, lands you in a 4-year school where you still don't know what you want to do in life or what degree you're trying to go after, where we're taught information that statistically with a bachelor's degree makes us $47,000 per year. And I don't care who's listening to this, but if you've got a degree and you're flipping burgers at McDonald's, something didn't work. If you think that $47,000 a year is a lot of money, at the end of the day, you're taking home 30 grand and you can't even afford to be homeless in California on that, So I think that thinking bigger, doing bigger, acting bigger, surrounding yourself with the right people, and getting your information from, like Grant says, got to get your information from the right source. Like, don't listen to, the person that makes $100,000 a year on finances. They don't have money. You know what I mean?
The majority of people that go into college at that age, they're not mature enough and ready to make a decision of what they want to be. And so then you're going into college, and it's just like in work, like we talk about in our jobs. If you're going in unprepared and don't have a plan and clear intentions of what you want to do, you're basically wallowing in the wind, man. And that's what happens to a lot of kids. And that's what we see. A lot of them don't finish. A lot of them take longer to finish. And then when they get out, they end up working for people like myself that dropped out of college.
Yep.
And because, you know, it all comes down to preparation and planning and having clear intentions, man. And if you don't have that, that's your foundation, and the culture thing too.
Absolutely. C-Roc, we got to go to break in just a second here. But before we do, what's your day look like? You wake up, what time's that? What's your day look like?
I wake up 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending if I sleep in at 6. And I jump right up. I drink some water and I take my vitamins. And then I sit down and read where it's quiet before the kids get up, write my goals down, and look at my schedule for the day. And then I go from there based on what my schedule has. I keep my schedule packed.
I love it. I love it, guys. All right, guys, when we come back from break, we're going to dive in a little bit more to, look, the guy went from $4 million a month to $32 million a month in revenue. That's crazy. Not that many people have done that. Not that many people have companies or have worked in industries where that actually happens. And there's definitely some action behind it, some thoughts, some rituals, some routines that C-Roc here has implemented to hit there. So when we come back from break, we're going to be breaking all of that down right after this brief message.